All right, and welcome back to the forecast card. Needed to take the weekend off. Honestly, didn't do that bad basketball or baseball, but college basketball just completely fucked me again, and I just needed a break. Again, I don't mind. I can go 0-12, and as long as it felt like I handicapped the games poorly, then sue me. I won't be that upset. But the way that a lot of these games end up losing really frustrates me. But yeah, glad to be back. I'm going to be locked back in, spend more time on baseball now that college basketball is wrapping up. Of course, the stupidest tournament of all time since 2008. All the first seeds made it all the way to the Final Four. Super boring tournament. Um, yeah, it just wasn't it for me. I find a lot of value in underdogs, and that just wasn't it this year. So yeah, let's briefly review these games because I don't really want to relive them. Michigan State winning by 6, 3 seconds left. Basically a logo 3-point shot somehow hits the back of the rim and just falls in. Should have I don't I If you watch that, I don't know how it didn't bounce out. Just like hit like a dead part of the rim and just fell in. Garbage time three kills the spread, but it is what it is. Kentucky, worst shooting performance of the entire season. Obviously Tennessee's an elite defensive unit, but um, they clearly had figured out how to beat Tennessee the last two times they played. They just couldn't shoot. A lot of good looks, just could not fall. None of their shots were falling. Michigan, they were like winning by 8 with like 13 minutes left. They end up losing by 14. Auburn just completely turned something on in the last like 10 minutes, and Michigan just couldn't do anything. Um, and Houston -8, winning by 10 with like 4 minutes left, and then they basically give up a 14-4 run to end the game, and basically should have went to overtime. They made a pretty clutch shot and to end the game. Yeah, not too many words. Pretty shitty day. In my defense, though, when I did post that video, the thumbnail did say "fade for free money." So um, I wasn't feeling very confident at that time. So if you did fade all four of those, you would have went 4-0. So for the record, I technically went 4-0 if you took my advice. So that's really on you, not on me at this point. Anyway, yeah, there's 4 games in this random ass tournament. I don't even remember what it's called, but um, yeah, these should be some pretty stupid games. I'm not sure what the motivation level will be, so I'll be handicapping them to the best of my ability. But again, a lot of game time decisions, a lot of portal players, a lot of injuries, a lot of massive travel spots. These games are going to be very toss-uppy, but I try to take a few angles on each one to at least give my opinion on which I would bet if I was betting these games, which I'm not really sure if I'm going to yet. We'll see tomorrow how I'm feeling. But yeah, let's get into the 4 games for tomorrow. All right, heading on to game at number 1, we have Utah versus Butler. Now this is going to be an interesting game. Obviously, both these squads have been relatively underwhelming this year. But that being said, Butler is a team that relies a lot less on that home advantage than Utah. And I think they are the slightly better team here. Utah, not a great shooting team by any means, but they are a team that typically is pretty good on the offensive glass. But in this spot, I think Butler is, in terms of the pure shooting, is kind of what I'm going to be leaning towards in this tournament. Utah, in terms of what they do well, it's all kind of hustle stats. Forcing turnovers, shooting in the paint is usually a lot more hands-on. Second chance opportunities. They're not a good free throw shooting team, so I don't know how motivated any team is going to be. This is a random ass tournament, like 3 weeks after both these teams have last played. I'm just going to take the pure raw shooting team. Butler, a significantly better team, an elite 3-point mid-range shooting team. They're going to get to the free throw line a good chunk, good free throw shooting team. I would say that they are, on paper, the better coach. Obviously, both these coaches are pretty elite. Obviously, Utah is led by Alex Jensen, pretty solid. He used to play for Utah back in the day when they went all the way to the NCAA championship. That being said, don't think he's necessarily that good. He was an assistant coach at the NBA, but I don't know how involved that is. Plus, NBA versus and college basketball, they're very different games. And Butler, they've had Mata for a while. This is a coach that previously coached Butler to a couple of Final Four appearances when he played with Ohio State. I think his resume is a little bit more impactful for this type of game. Plus, Butler likely going to have a lot of the same players next year, so I still think they're going to be more motivated for this kind of game than Utah is. Obviously, this is going to be much closer of a game for Utah. 300 miles away versus Butler traveling over 1,500 miles. But I don't know how long Butler is going to have traveled prior to this game. But I think they'll be fine. This is their last games of the tournament. I think they want to try to win something. Same with Utah. Obviously, Utah's a much tougher conference, but Butler coming to the Big East is not necessarily a bad team. Again, Utah, yeah, they might have some more home crowds. You could argue this is kind of a home game, but it's still in a neutral court. They've been a pretty bad neutral court team this year. Butler's been pretty solid, fifth best in the conference. If you look at their last 5 ratings, Utah has finished off the year as the better team, but I'm not necessarily sure that matters. I think Butler has slightly more talent. Injury-wise, not really sure if Butler's going to be missing any guys. I don't think they are. I think they're basically going to be fully healthier, except for Augusto. He's just like a random-ass bench player. Utah, on the other hand, I don't think that they have any injuries. I looked at this before, but I kind of forgot. So Asar is questionable with a knee injury. Not really sure if he's going to play, but he's their second lead rebounder. 12. Their only other double-digit scorer. So if he's not playing, that's a big deal. Again, he's questionable with a knee injury. Who knows if he's going to play? Then they'll be out Teat and Traore. These are just some random-ass bench players. Not really concerned. But again, that's a pretty big deal if Asar doesn't play. I think that obviously tends to lead towards Utah. But again, it's a Utah team that just is reliant on steals and rebounds. And if they only have one guy in Gabe Madsen that's putting up over 10 points, especially if Asar is out, I think I'm just going to trust the Butler team here. For a random-ass tournament like this, I'm just going to basically lean on all of the teams that are just straight-up better shooters. So give me Butler money line in this game. Again, Model has this as basically a coin toss, so bet this game if you choose to, but I would lean Butler. I think they have the better coach and the better roster and the less injury concerns here. So give me the Butler Bulldogs. All right, heading out to game number 2. Again, who really knows how motivated any of these teams are? Obviously, Boise State is the significantly better team here. George Washington is a fine team, but Boise State, they had some potential of making it far in the tournament if they ended up getting there. Obviously, they didn't end up getting there, but they're a team that is elite in the paint against the George Washington team that doesn't defend the paint well. They're a really good free throw shooting team, decent offensive board team. They shoot a bunch of threes. They suck at them, so I'm hoping they don't shoot that many threes. But the fact that they have an edge on the offensive boards does make me less concerned that they're going to be shooting a lot of threes. George Washington, offensively, they're dog shit. They're not even top 100 in any shooting. The only thing they really do is they shoot a lot of free throws, and they force turnovers, and they rely on the offensive boards. Again, very similar to what I just said in the other game. That being said, Boise State, 8th best in limiting turnovers and top 15 in limiting second chance opportunity percentage. So, and again, George Washington, not a good free throw shooting team. Even though they should get to line a decent amount, they shoot it almost sub 70%. So, not really concerned. I think Boise State, coming to the Mountain West, is going to be the way better team here. They've been the better team all year. I just don't think George Washington is going to have the motivation to get these turnovers and force and offensive boards. They're going to have to play really, really hard. And really, who knows who's going to come up for this. I think Boise State is just going to get free layups all game. And that's basically going to be the difference here. In terms of travel, this game is significantly closer to Boise. It'll basically be a home game for them. 500 miles away compared to George Washington, traveling over 2,000 miles for this game. That's going to be pretty tough for them. Boise, obviously, much better team. They also are basically going to have no injuries in this game. Who knows if there's going to be any players that don't play, but if both rosters are playing, I think Boise has the significant edge. If we're talking just straight up potential, the ceiling for Boise was Elite 8. If I'm being honest, if they could shoot the ball better, their defense and their lack of turning the ball over and stuff, I think they could have made it far if they had figured out how to shoot the ball. But yeah, I think this is a spot here where Boise wins this game by double digits. I think Leon Rice is still heading Boise. I think he's been there since 2010. He'll have his team ready for this game. George Washington, they're led by Caputo. Again, he's been fine with University of Miami. I think he was the coach for their Final Four run, but um, I don't know. He hasn't really been that impressive except outside of that one run. Uh, I don't know. I think they're trying to rebuild under Caputo. It's going to take a while. This team didn't look that great this year. So I think Boise has very much the ability to just crush them if they choose. So I'd probably lean Boise. Probably my favorite game on the slate today. All right, heading on to game number 3, we have Nebraska versus Arizona State. I think this is just a spot for Arizona State here. Obviously, they're still going to be without B.J. Freeman. He's officially out. He got, whatever, punished for being an idiot or some shit. I don't remember. So he's not going to be playing. He's their lead scorer. I believe... who else is going to be out? Quaintance is probably going to be out. It was a pretty bad knee injury. He's listed as game time decision, but if I had to put money on it, I would say he's probably not going to play. Again, he's their lead rebounder. Without him, I think their lead blocker, lead turnover guy. I think without him, again, they're not going to be able to slow down Bryce Williams and company. For the most part, Nebraska is fully healthy. Connor Esigian just tweeted a bunch of stuff that they're ready. They're going to be ready for this game. They're going to take full advantage. So I think they're a team that is going to show up for this game. I think they have a few more things to prove. They kind of had a shitty end to the year, but I think they're going to be motivated for this game in Las Vegas. Yeah, who else is out for Arizona State? I'm pretty sure they have one more injury, if I'm not mistaken. Nunez is going to be out, but he's not really important. Jihad will be playing. Mason, not sure if he's going to be playing. Alston Mason, he's not showing up here on Alston Mason. Did he transfer? Yeah, I'm actually not sure if he's going to be playing. He's not showing up on the site I use for lineup, so if he's going to be out, they're going to be down another guard. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really tough spot here. Nebraska is basically going to be fully healthy. Their only likely starter that's going to be out is Morgan. But they're going to have Williams, they're going to have Gary, they're going to have Esigian. Worcester is going to be out, but again, it's not that important. Yeah, I don't know. I think Nebraska is going to be the more talented team, better team. Arizona State, way too many injuries. They're going to probably be out of 6 to 7 starters this game. I don't think that's a recipe for success here. I think Bryce Williams drops 30 points and Nebraska wins this game by 7 or 8 points. Yeah, again, who knows who's going to end up playing this game, but I think Nebraska's been the better team out of the better conference. And Arizona State, I think they're over this season. Injuries completely collapsed them all year. They probably had a chance to do pretty good, but who knows what their motivation level is going to be. So Nebraska -5. All right, heading on to game number 4. Very similar cap. Again, I don't think these teams are going to be as motivated for this tournament as they maybe were for other ones. And again, I'm just going to take the raw shooters. Basically, for any of these games, I do think that Georgetown, they're not very good at anything except for offensive boards and forcing turnovers. That's basically their two things that they do well. And again, I don't really know how motivated they're going to be. They're still going to be without their lead rebounder and their second lead turnover guy in Sorber. Without him, who knows how much these stats completely reduce to nothing. Washington State's basically going to be fully healthy, and they are in a pretty elite shooting team. Top 20 field goal percentage, top 35 three-point shooting team, top 80 mid-range, top 40 near basket, top 100 on the offensive glass. Both teams can't shoot the free throws, so I'm not necessarily too worried about that. Georgetown, not really a team that fouls a lot, so that's not really a bad thing that Washington State can't shoot the free throw. But again, the game's basically going to come down to whether or not Georgetown is playing as hard as they can to force turnovers and get offensive boards. If they're not, I think Washington State is just a way better offensive team. They're going to have a lot more success just in raw shooting if defense is not 100% effort for a tournament like this. Washington State, again, fully healthy. Georgetown going to be missing a key player in Sorber. A couple bench players are going to be out. On the other side, as far as I can tell, Washington State's basically going to be fully healthy. The only people that have been out for a while have been out since December, so nothing's really going to change there. But this is basically going to be, well, I'm not going to say it's going to be a home game for Washington State, but It's only 700 miles away from where they typically play, over 2,000 miles away for Georgetown, where they've lost the last 4 games, traveling over 500 miles. Washington State 2-2 and traveling around 700 miles, so I think this might feel a bit more comfortable for them, a bit closer to the West Coast. They haven't played since the 9th. It's going to be like 21 days since they haven't played, 18 for Georgetown. Yeah, this is going to be a really weird spot for both teams. So I'm not really interested in this game. That being said, Washington State is a team that has proven they can kind of step up in competition sometimes. And who knows where their head's going to be at for this kind of game. But I think it'll be closer for them. I think they'll be less exhausted. Yeah, again, these two teams have never played against each other. They haven't played any similar opponents this year. So who really knows how they match up. But yeah, I'm going to have to lean here with Washington State. I think it's going to be a closer game. But I don't think Georgetown is going to be able to blow them out with how bad they are at shooting the ball. So yeah, I think that's my point of lean. Washington State plus 3.5 for that one. To summarize, we got Butler money line, Boise State -8, Nebraska -5, and Washington State plus 3.5. In terms of confidence level, Boise State probably my favorite game, and then Nebraska, then Butler, then Washington State. I think this is probably going to be a spot where favorites typically roll, but again, who knows how motivated anyone's going to be for this game? I genuinely have no idea. So, yeah, that's everything for today. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you guys being understanding about the break. Definitely a rough tournament for me. After how good I've done in the previous tournaments, it's been a bit frustrating to say the least. So hopefully things end up ending well for us to end off the tournament, or all the tournaments, I guess. But we will see how that goes. NBA and MLB will be up over the next few hours. Still have quite a lot of shit to get through. So anyway, cheers and thanks.